As a young person, like many of you watching today, I knew what I believed when I started my professional career because I'd read a few books that had inspired and informed me. But God blessed me with the opportunity to work with and learn from others throughout my career so that I have continued to learn and read and be inspired. And I have a desire to share this with others. I was a fusionist before I ever had heard of the word. And I am grateful to those on whose shoulders I stand, and you will stand, for their commitment to thinking and writing and confronting conflicting notions to bring clarity to our understanding of the permanence of the unity of faith and religious values and freedom and liberty. I want to take a moment right now to express my appreciation and thankfulness to the Leadership Institute and its founder and leader, Morton Blackwell, for investing in this project. The vision brought to Morton by Chris Malagisi of a teaching series that would help Americans, especially young Americans, better understand the truths, the principles that are the foundation of ordered liberty, limited government, economic freedom and opportunity for all, and the ability to defend these blessings from enemies foreign and domestic is an important and needed tool in today's world, particularly one where the education system has too often failed to provide students with information about where to search for truth, facts, knowledge of history, and great books that offer such. Today we are going to talk about fusionism and its origins and why you might be a fusionist too. Before the word fusionism was coined in the early 1960s, there were great written works that were the intellectual underpinnings of this beautiful and forceful thinking. I'm going to share with you a short list of these works and leaders. You should investigate them further. First of all, there's the Bible. I just want to mention a couple of things from the Bible, which is a great work of history. First is the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule is, therefore, all things whatever ye would that men do to you, do ye even so to them. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And then there are the two great commandments from the Bible. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. And thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Then there's Adam Smith. In 1776, Adam Smith wrote an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations, an important beginning for fusionist thinking. Other thinkers and writers, John Locke, Edmund Burke, and Lord Acton. Frederick Bastiat, who wrote the law. Alexis de Tocqueville. And then founders of our country, George Washington, John Adams, James Madison. Richard Weaver in his great book, Ideas Have Consequences. Frederick Hayek and The Road to Serfdom. And Russell Kirk with The Conservative Mind. In other Conservatism 101 lectures, you may have heard about some of these men or their books. If so, today will serve to emphasize that you should include them in your library for reference and for inspiration. And you should read or reread from these books or lectures regularly. Let me just share with you a couple of quotes from the three of our founders that I have mentioned. First of all, George Washington. Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. The mere politician, equally with the pious man, ought to respect and to cherish them. Whatever may be conceded to the influence of refined education on minds of peculiar structure, reason, and experience, both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principle. 'Tis substantially true that virtue or morality is a necessary spring of popular government. Who that is a sincere friend to it can look with indifference upon attempts to shake the foundation of the fabric. That was George Washington. And then John Adams. When John Adams said our Constitution was, quote, made only for a moral and religious people and wholly inadequate to the government of any other, he meant that a people devoid of religious ethical guidelines was incapable of sustaining a regime of freedom. And then James Madison. If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. 3 of our founders, fusionist thinking. You will see from these quotes and through the other works I have mentioned that for years, great thinkers have spoken and written about the importance, uniqueness, and value of each individual, the imperfect nature of man, and the importance of religious teaching and religious freedom to emphasize the fallen nature of man who was created in the image and likeness of God. And therefore, we must necessarily limit the power of governments governed by men. As M. Stanton Evans wrote in his book, The Theme is Freedom, quote, Western freedom is the product of our faith, and the precepts of that faith are essential to its survival, end quote. Western freedom, after all, is embodied in our Declaration of Independence, and the government created was limited by our Constitution.